Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. This is my second YouTube video on my channel. This is following on from last week's video where I showed you what I got for the month for my groceries, which included my monthly woolly shop and then my fortnightly my fortnightly fruit and veg grocery haul. So it's been a week and I'm going to show you in this video what I managed to cook this week. Now, I couldn't film everything. The reason being is I'm new to this. I have a very basic setup. I'm just using my phone for the time being, and I ran out of storage. And I learnt that the hard way. I was filming something and I didn't realize till the end that my phone stopped filming. So it took me a while to figure out a way around that. So I wasn't able to film all the dinners that I made this week, but I'm going to talk you through what I did make during this video. What I did get to film in full is the full day and a half of freezer meal prep that I got done. That my future self is so glad I got done, because it has made life so much easier for my partner and I over the last week and a half. And I'm starting here with burritos. So I'm making pork and chicken burritos. I've got my 2 slow cookers out. I've got my smaller one with half a pork shoulder in it, and a larger one with about 1.5 kilos, a little bit more than 1.5 kilos of chicken legs. Now, I originally planned on just using a whole chicken, which I had in the freezer from last month, to do a big slow cook whole chicken for these burritos. But instead, when I was looking through my freezer, I noticed I had this huge bag of chicken legs. I picked them up on sale for like $5 just over a month ago. And then this half a pork shoulder. And I thought, look, I'm going to use these up because it was really perfect for what I wanted to cook, which is the meat for these burritos. So the first thing that I'm making are lunch burritos. I was trying to think of some meals I could make and put in the freezer that we could pull out, particularly for lunches for myself and my partner. And burritos, they ticked all the boxes. They're quite on the healthier side, they freeze well, and they're easy to heat up wrapped in aluminium foil. So that's what we're doing. So in my small slow cooker, I've got half a pork shoulder, like I said, and what I've put in there is actually something else I had in my freezer that I had forgotten about. I made my own barbecue sauce last time I made pulled pork, and I made way too much, so I froze the rest, and I found that when I was looking for this whole chicken, and I thought, perfect, I'm going to defrost that and do my slow cooker pork for the burritos with that sauce, and it turned out so yummy. I'll try and find the recipe I use and link it down below because it is so good. It's not super sweet and it's just the perfect smoky flavor for pulled pork, slow cooker pulled pork. In that second larger slow cooker, got my 1.5 kilos of drumsticks, chicken legs, and then I put in a jar of salsa. Again, just something else I had in the cupboard that had been sitting there for months. I thought, look, let's just do that. I added that, a little bit of oil and onion and garlic powder. And I also put in a little bit of water because I'm planning on leaving this overnight. So I didn't want the chicken to dry out overnight for the 6 or 7 hours I'm going to leave it for. Once I got the chicken and the pork on, I got started on this spicy garlic prawn pasta. my pasta's cooking because this all comes together really quickly, so I got that on first. Then I melted some butter in the pan on a medium-low heat, added my garlic in, and let the butter and the garlic do its thing. This is such an easy dinner that I'll definitely be making again. So once the butter and the garlic is starting to smell really nice, you want to put in your chopped up peeled green prawns. Now, it doesn't look like much, and that's because it's not. I only got 200 grams of shelled, green prawns in their shell from the deli at Woolworths, but this was just enough for Ben and I for dinner for one night. You want to make sure you save a little bit of that pasta water before the pasta's finished cooking to add into the pasta dish at the end to bring it all together. I just can't believe how easy this pasta dish is and how delicious it is. I feel like all good pasta dishes are really simple, which is great for the budget and great for limited time at night. So once your prawns are starting to look like they are becoming nice and cooked, so they're no longer translucent, they're turning white, you want to move quickly here. So you want to add your chili, obviously to taste, and then I also went in with some salt and pepper before finishing it off with some lemon and also some fresh basil. I really wanted to take a moment to just say thank you to everyone who has subscribed to my channel. I am so overwhelmed with how many subscribers I've got. I'm sitting on just under 150, which is way more than I thought I would get in the first few months, let alone in my first video. So thank you so much. It really increases my motivation to film for you guys and show you what I'm doing in my kitchen. And all of the comments, all of the lovely comments and the feedback that I got from my last video, thank you so much. You know, this is really the first time, apart from a few quick TikTok videos that I've made, that I've put myself out there on camera. And it's daunting, especially the first time. It's still daunting now, but it was daunting putting out that first video. But I just tried to be as authentic and myself as I could. And I'm just so happy that people enjoyed my last video and are looking forward to seeing more. So my plan is to upload each week. It might not be on the perfectly a week out, but about every week, because my goal is to give you a snapshot of what I cook that week. And they will be longer videos because I don't know about you guys, but I like watching slower paced videos that I can have on in the background while I'm cooking myself or I'm nursing my daughter. So I hope you like this format. Let me know if you do. Let me know if you don't as well. That's also okay. Now, what I've done here is obviously just added the pasta in, added some of that pasta water, and I'm just letting it cool down and absorb all that butter. I also added a little bit of olive oil too. So giving it a good stir. I found the trick to these simple pastas is not rush this part. Leave it for a few minutes. As the pasta cools down, it soaks up all that flavor and it just really changes the dish. So that's what I've done here. Finish this dish off. I've added some pepper and also some fresh basil from my mother-in-law's garden. This, I've said it already, but this could not have been easier and yummier. This is definitely going to go in my arsenal of recipes when I do my monthly meal plans. that I'm going to use frequently, and it works out perfectly because I want to use the prawns that I get as soon as possible and not freeze them. So what I'll do is I'll plan to make this dish at the start of each month, whether it be the night after I get the groceries or the next day. Like in this case, it was the next day. And it works out perfect because if I want to do it the night that I get the groceries, that's a big day already, planning and packing away the groceries for the month. So I can just quickly whip up this dish. It's filling, it's hearty. Sure, there are no vegetables in it, but we do that every now and then. So here's what the pork and the chicken look like after a night of them cooking away in the slow cooker. Now I'm going to get into making doing the rest of what I need to for the burritos. This is the next day. The pork and the chicken had been on for about 9 hours, so longer than I wanted to have them on for, but that's okay. They were still really nice and tender and not dry, which is great. So what I did was got the meat out as soon as I could after the 8 hours. I waited for it to cool down a little bit, popped it in the fridge for later that day after I had prepped all of these veggies and were ready to put the burritos together. So I'm just washing these capsicums that I got from the fruit and veg shop. Well, I got all this from the fruit and veg shop except the tomatoes there. They are from the garden. We've had so many cherry tomatoes grow, and I want to say I'm really proud of it, but they're all volunteer tomatoes. We didn't plant any of them. We're living in a rental, and the people who owned the house before us, because the house was sold and then rented out straight away. And we actually met the past owners during the inspection. They happened to be here before the house had been handed over to the new owners, and they loved gardening. You can tell from the gardens that we've got at the front and the back, and there's a sign they left up in the backyard that says, "I dig gardening." So, you know, they really loved their gardening. They looked after their gardens. So these volunteer tomatoes sprouted up from the garden bed down the back. That was a fruit and veg little patch, and they've just done so well. So I'm so thankful for that. They definitely haven't gone to waste. We've made so many pastas with them. I've made some crushed tomatoes and put them in the freezer. My mum's made like 5 jars of tomato chutney. And then again here, I've got 2 big containers full to chop up and pop in these burritos. So I'm just chopping up these capsicums. They were so cheap from the fruit and veg shop. All of this really was, and so lovely and vibrant and fresh. So I'm going to chop them up and saute them in some olive oil, some salt and pepper, some onion powder and garlic powder, and get them really nice and sweet and ready to put in the burritos. While you watch me do this, I did want to take a moment to explain to you guys how I meal prep and put in my order and whatnot for my monthly grocery shop. Reason being is I had a follower comment on my last video asking how I did it, so I will take a moment to explain that. What I do is throughout the month, I have on my phone, so on my iPhone in notes, I have a document open for next month's groceries. So we're in October now, so I've got one for the November, December grocery shop. And I have each day written out down the notes. So I have, let's say it's Monday the 1st, and then I have Tuesday the 2nd, Wednesday the 3rd, and so on for the month. And what I do is next to each of the days, I put the recipe for the dinner. So I really only meal plan dinners and some lunch options. Breakfast is always the usual milk for coffees, some toast, and, you know, we always have some bacon and eggs, and also some ingredients for my green smoothies, which I have for breakfast. So that's kind of always a constant each month. And dinners are really that meal of the day that I like to plan to have some variety. So as I think of ideas throughout the month, I'll go into this notes that I've got on my phone, and I'll pop it in for whatever day I feel might fit throughout the month. It's definitely not set in stone as well, what I have each day planned. It's really just the 30 odd recipes, 25 to 30 recipes that will get me through the month. Like I said with the pasta, I do like to have the recipes that require either fresh fruit and veg or, poultry, which I usually freeze, but more so fish, like if I'm going to get salmon or any other type of fish or prawns, I like to use them up as soon as possible. So I pop those recipes at the start of the month or the start of the fortnight if it's some produce that I want to use up that doesn't keep very well. That way I know, okay, I need to make that early on. But yes, throughout the month, I pop in ideas. If I have a meal that I really like, I'll go in and pop it for next month's list. I usually have maybe a quarter of the meals figured out by the time the month comes around, and then it takes me a while. I spend a few hours brainstorming, chatting to my partner Ben as to what we want to cook for this upcoming month. I usually do this when I'm ready to make my Woolies order. So I'll sit down with my computer and I'll open up the catalogue for the week, and I like to shop the specials. I'm looking at recipes, but then I'm also looking at, okay, what meat's on sale for the month? What freezer items are on sale for the month? How can I make that work? And then I'll, if it's chicken or whatnot, I'll build more recipes around that for the month than say if it was pork or lamb that's on sale. So that's how I like to do it. It still means each month's a little bit different. It just means there might be a few more chicken recipes one month than the next. So I'm just cooking up all of this corn in my cast iron pan with some butter, salt and pepper. It's my favourite way to cook this corn. I'm doing 2 batches actually of 3 corn cobs in each batch. So here I am using these tomatoes from our garden. I'm just looking through to just take out some of the bad ones. I was surprised by how quickly these have gone bad in the fridge. They've only been in the fridge for less than a week, and I think it's a mixture of 2 things. The tomatoes were still a little bit wet from when I washed them, so they've kind of been sitting in it's been a bit moist in there. And then also it was one of the last batches, one of the last harvests I did on the tomato plant, and they weren't as nice and fresh as what the previous harvests were. So I think that's probably why. But anyway, I got a good amount of tomatoes for the burritos. I could have chopped up more, but I felt this was all I needed. And now I'm just chopping up some plain old brown onion as fine as I can. I'm just going to put that on the burritos raw, not cooked. You could cook it if you like. As you can see, the corn has browned up really nicely here in this cast iron pan. You don't have to use cast iron, but I just find it works the best. So I'm going to scoop it out and put on the second lot of corn, the last 3 corn cobs. Now, this is way too much corn for the burritos, and I knew it was going to be, but I did want to cook it up while I was at it, and I'm so glad that I had extra. I only used about half of it, so I used about this much in the burritos because it came in handy tomorrow when I make the pizza scrolls, which you'll see in a minute. So Jimmy is pretty aware of what I'm doing in the kitchen. He knows the minute I take out the cheese, and he sits there and he stares at me and he always gets a bit of a taste of it. So yeah, he gets the cheese tax. He lives a pretty good life, but I wouldn't have it any other way. So next I'm going to cook this capsicum again in 2 batches so it doesn't steam. The first batch I'm just using a little bit of olive oil, salt and pepper and chili. And the next batch I use some onion powder and garlic powder, and it turned out really, really nice. So the last bit of prep that I have to do is take the meat off the bone. So I'm going to start here with the chicken. It's so tender, I can just break it up with my hands and pull it apart with my hands. That was the easiest way to do it. And I'm just making sure here that both of the bones come out of each leg and then breaking it up. I love how this chicken turned out. It is such a great way to use chicken legs. I feel like I always see them on sale and they're such a great price, but I'm not buying a whole lot of them very often because I feel like I'm always stuck on what to cook with them. I have done quite a few like oven tray bakes with them and a few curries, but that's about it. So I'm definitely going to keep an eye out and buy some chicken legs each month and do different slow cooker variations with them because it was just so yummy. If you have a really great recipe that uses chicken legs, please let me know in the comments below what it is. I would love some inspiration to use this cut of meat a little bit more in different ways. So in a minute, I'm going to move on and pull apart the pork. Just like the chicken, it turned out so yummy. I knew this would because the barbecue sauce was so good the last time I made pulled pork with it. So yeah, it was a hit then and this definitely is a hit now. We are a week and a half in to the month. So a week and a half after I made these burritos and all the pork ones are gone. Ben's taking one for lunch almost every day. So finally, it's time to assemble these burritos. My partner Ben is helping here. He's going to wrap them all, and he's also minding our daughter while we do this. So each burrito is getting some sour cream, some meat, and Ben's marking what burrito's what with a Sharpie. Then some capsicum, some beans, whether that be black beans or cannelloni beans, some raw onion, some cheese. We had so much cheese there, but that's okay. We got through it. Some of the corn and some of those fresh tomatoes. Also popped on a little bit of rice, and then for each burrito put some lime and some Tabasco. These turned out, I've said it already, I'll say it again, these burritos were so good. We're definitely going to make it again in the next few months, even if, you know, we don't eat them as quickly as we have this month. They're going to last in the freezer. We made 16 burritos in total. I did buy another packet of wraps, which we didn't need, but they'll definitely, you know, these wraps have such a long shelf life. We'll definitely use them in the coming weeks. But yeah, 16 burritos in total. Like I said, we've eaten about half of them. Ben's taken them to work, but we also had some friends come around just recently. They also have a little bub, a few months younger than Lola, and we had a huge day. We got back home, they were staying the night, and the babies, Lola's teething and their baby as well was, not super settled. We were going to go out for dinner and we just thought, you know what, let's kick our feet up. Let's try and just relax. And I popped 4 burritos in the oven and they heated up. I put them in frozen, wrapped in aluminium foil. I obviously took off the cling wrap that they were also wrapped in. Pop them all in the oven, really low, about 120, 140 degrees for an hour, and they were perfect. So they really saved the day. So it's the next day and my mum has come over to help. She had the day off, and yeah, I am so grateful that she came over. It was such a nice day. Today we are cracking on with making more freezer meals. I really wanted to make some pizza scrolls, which is what we're making first. And my mum, she just makes the best pizza scrolls. So I told her, you take the lead on this. I'll be your sous chef and get everything out that you need. And clean up the kitchen as we go, and I'll watch you how you do this. I particularly wanted to see how she makes the like the dough for it, because I knew it was her scone recipe, and she makes the best scones. She's given me the recipe, which was my ma's, and I've tried to make these scones twice now, and I do not know what I'm doing wrong, but they turn out to be like a flat biscuit. So I let Mum fully take control of this, and I'm so glad I did, because they turned out so nice, and I'm so glad that I've got it on film, so I can come back and watch this when I do make them again, because I definitely will be making these again. So to start with, Mum's just cutting up the bacon. You can use any cut of bacon you like. We decided to use the long part of the rasher, the fatty part, and leave the rest for the bacon and egg McMuffins that I'm going to be making next. Now, do you want to know what was just as much of a win in my books as getting all of these freezer meals done? And that was the fact that I got a shower on this morning. Mum came around, she looked after Lola, we got her down for a nap, and I had a shower before we started cooking. And all I felt like doing, I knew we were going to be filming, but all I felt like doing was putting some comfy clothes on. So that's what I did. So you'll see me here in my trusty polka dot robe, which I absolutely love because it has two big pockets, so I can put things in the pockets while I'm holding Lola, and some tracky pants and a comfy top. And that's what you're going to get on this channel, is uncensored, real life me. So today, this mama felt like being comfortable. So we got comfortable. Look at Jimmy here. He is waiting for some cheese, and he got some. Like I said earlier in this video, he knows when that cheese packet comes out and when that grater comes out, and yeah, he stares me down till I give him some cheese. So we're going to finish up here prepping the cheese and the bacon, and then get the bacon on to start cooking. Now, because these are pizza scrolls, we are making a tomato sauce base. So we're using tomato paste with the garlic that Mum crushed up, and then we are popping in our spices, or our herbs, should I say. So basil, oregano, and some chili, and also some salt and pepper. Now Mum's getting started on making the scone mixture here, which will be the base for our scroll. So this is going to be the dough. It's so simple. All you need to do is add in 4 cups of plain flour, 4 teaspoons of baking powder, not soda, baking powder. You want to add in 1 cup of heavy cream, and 1.5 cups of milk, and then a pinch of salt. That is it. You mix it all together until it forms a dough that's not super sticky, not super dry, and you don't want to knead it too much. You just want to bring all of the wet and dry ingredients together. I'll leave you to have a look at it to see how Mum does it, because I think she's got the magic touch with this one. The good thing about this compared to normal scone dough that I've learned is this one, you can be a bit rougher with it and mix it together and take your time with bringing it all together. Whereas when you're making scones where you want them to rise really well, you've got to be a bit more particular about not kneading the dough too much. So it's quite a forgiving recipe, which is great. So here we are putting the toppings on the scrolls. You could add whatever toppings you would like. Anything you've got in your fridge that you need to use up that would go on a pizza. But we decided to keep it really nice and simple. So our tomato paste with the herbs, some onion, some cheese, some bacon, some black olives that you can see me scooping out here. They're really affordable, and some of the corn that I did up yesterday. So this is a really cheap, tasty snack or meal. I could see this being really great for kids. It's so affordable. I'm definitely going to make this with different variations in the future and try some different things. Yes, it takes a little bit of time to get everything ready, but really the dough's simple. Like I said, you don't need it to rise. It's ready to go once you put all the ingredients together. So yeah, I really like this recipe. We made 2 batches of this. We decided not to go ahead and try and mix 2 batches of the dough at once. We just did it in 2 separate batches. Once this one had cooked, we popped the second batch in to cook, and it made 24 scrolls. And you'll see me in a little bit how I package these up, but I package them in lots of 2 scrolls and glad wrap them together, and then put the 3 lots of 2 scrolls, so 6 scrolls in total, in a Ziploc bag, just as an extra layer of protection in the freezer. This is a little method we figured out on the day, using a spatula to hold each slice while we're transferring it over to the parchment paper. Mum says she always tries to do this just with her hand, and the scrolls come apart a little bit and she loses some of the fillings. So hot tip, if you're going to do this at home, use a spatula. So you want to cook the scrolls at 200 to 210 degrees Celsius. We didn't time how long, and Mum doesn't have a time. She just keeps an eye on them. You want them to look like this. So starting to brown up. You don't want them to go hard. You want them still to be a little bit soft, and let them cool on a rack as soon as possible. Get them on the rack, get them off the tray so they don't steam at the bottom, and let them cool before wrapping them up. So while I wrap them up, I wanted to talk about what meals I made this week that I wasn't able to film. So like you saw, I made the prawn pasta, the prawn linguine. We also had beef stroganoff, so that used up some of the sour cream that I got. Actually, the rest of the sour cream that we didn't use when we made the burritos. The beef strip portions that I bought from Woolies, and a packet of the mushrooms. We also made our own pork and chicken dumplings. So some pork ones and some chicken ones. They turned out so well. The pork they both had some cabbage in it, the cabbage that I got from the fruit and veg shop. And the pork ones had shiitake mushrooms in them as well. Something that I had in the cupboard that I needed to use was some dried shiitake mushrooms, so I rehydrated them and put them in the pork dumplings. And the wrappers I had in the fridge too, because I was meaning to make dumplings last month, but I didn't. And I had some pork mince in the freezer, and then I just bought some chicken mince from Woolies because we wanted to have 2 options, and they turned out so good, and they were so easy to make. I used 250 grams of pork mince and 250 grams of chicken mince, and it was more than enough for 60 dumplings. We only used about half of the mince, which was great because now I've got some pork mince and some chicken mince in the freezer already made up for dumplings. So next month, that's a meal already made. We can get them out, defrost the meat, buy some more wrappers from Woolworths. They're about 30. For 30 wrappers, it's about $3. So really quite affordable. And yeah, dinner's made. I served that with a sesame bean salad. So I used up those beans that I bought from the fruit and veg shop. We also made our fried chicken burger. Ben made that one, and it was so yummy, and I was so proud of us that I had planned like a takeout style meal. So we didn't get takeout, we made that instead. And then lastly, I made a roast tomato pasta with the cherry tomatoes from our garden. If you want to see how I make that, check out my TikTok. I'll link my TikTok below. I've made a video before of how I make my roast tomato pasta. It's so simple, so yummy. And then lastly, which you'll see coming up in a minute, I made a slow cooker honey garlic chicken, and similar to the one that I made for the burritos, a little bit different. And I had that with some of the noodles that I bought from the shops, as well as some sautéed cabbage and carrot. But you'll see that in a moment here. I'll link all of the recipes that I used for my meals in this first week down below, so you can have a read of them and see what I cooked. I don't follow recipes exactly. I do often sub in vegetables that I've got if the recipe calls for vegetables that I don't have, but I feel like something else would go really well in it. But yeah, the general gist of what I cooked in the recipes below. So moving on here, I'm starting the prep. This is the same day as the pizza scrolls. I'm starting the prep for these freezer brekkie English muffins. Now, although this is only a few days after my grocery haul, I did just put everything in the freezer from the grocery haul that I knew I wasn't going to use straight away. I didn't really think about the McMuffins because I had planned to get around to doing this only a few days after, but I still just wanted to chuck everything in the freezer, no harm done. So I had to take out, you can see them there in the shot, I took out 4 packets of these wholemeal English McMuffins. There's 6 per packet, so that's 24 McMuffins. We ended up making 22 of these freezer McMuffins. So I made 22 eggs. So I'm just cooking the bacon now, and you'll see me in a little bit flatten out the little pork chipolatas that I bought and cook those. On these McMuffins, I'm putting egg, bacon, or sausage, and some cheese, and like I said, some barbecue sauce or chutney. I just had a look at how much this cost me. So the McMuffins were 50 cents each. The eggs worked out to be, and these are free range eggs, they worked out to be 60 cents each. The bacon was 50 cents. The pork chipolata sausages were also about 50 cents each. And the cheese worked out to be about 30 cents a serving. So in total, each of these McMuffins cost me almost exactly $2. Now, in comparison, I thought, let's have a look at how much McDonald's bacon and egg or sausage and egg McMuffins are. I haven't bought one in so long. In my head, I'm thinking, oh geez, it might not be much cheaper than what Macca's is from memory. Oh my God, I just had a look, and a website that was from Australia in October this year. Guess how much a bloody bacon and egg McMuffin will set you back? $5.70. I don't remember them being that dear. I remember going to McDonald's after a big night out when I was 18, 19 and loving the next morning going and getting brekkie, and I swear I'd get a few bacon and egg McMuffins for like $5. Anyways, they're $5.70, and a sausage and eggs even more. They're $6.10 for one McMuffin. So if you've got kids, or if like us you love a bacon and egg McMuffin, or you're finding that you're going and buying them or feeling like going and buying them, do this. This was the easiest meal prep of what I've done this week. Literally just cooking up big batches of eggs that don't take too long, chucking some bacon on, flattening out the sausages. You probably don't even need to cut them like I'm doing first, so you could just flatten them out straight away. Put them together, wrap them up, chuck them in the freezer. When you want to go and eat them, all you have to do is put your oven on. You could defrost them if you're thinking ahead and leave them overnight in the fridge. Or if not, like us, the morning of, we just pop our oven on about 150 degrees Celsius, pop them in, and they take 20 to 30 minutes to cook through. And they're not soggy. They're actually really, really nice when you cook them in the alfoil. The McMuffin kind of crisps up a little bit, and the bacon and egg heats through, and the cheese melts. So it's a really, really great brekkie option for those of you that might be short on time or have lots of kids that like to get brekkie from Macca's. And here's a cheap option for you. So this is the last meal that I filmed for the week. It is another slow cooker recipe. The slow cooker is getting a really good workout this week, which has been great because it's been less time over the stovetop because I've done these big freezer meal days. This evening I actually planned on making this one on the stovetop, but my partner and I had a late lunch and we weren't that hungry, so I wanted to use the chicken though because I had defrosted it that day. I took it out that morning and put it in the fridge. So I decided I'm just going to I looked for a similar recipe in the slow cooker. Sorry if you can hear my daughter. She's having a little play while I do this last bit of the voiceover. So I found this what looked like a really great recipe. It has everything that I had in the cupboard and the fridge, so that's great. I'll link the recipe down below so you know the exact measurements, but I'm just using all the chicken thighs that I had. They weren't fully defrosted, but they were almost fully defrosted, so I wasn't worried at all about that. It's got honey in it. I believe it's 1/3 of a cup of honey. Oh, I'm doubling this recipe, that's right. I realised I had double the amount of chicken thighs that the recipe called for, so no worries at all. Some of this will certainly go in the freezer for a meal later on. Also, some soy sauce, some tomato paste. I had almost used this whole jar of tomato paste by this point, the end of the first week, so I'm going to have to buy some more at the shops at my monthly top-up. Now, this recipe called for rice vinegar, I believe, but I didn't have any of that, so I'm just using white vinegar, which turned out just fine. It also said chili paste, but I've got this crunchy chili oil in the fridge, and that was also really yummy in this recipe. And then I also put in this more spicy paste that I had in the fridge too. And I chopped up the garlic cloves and added those in, and that was it. I decided, because again I was putting this on while I was sleeping, I decided to add a little bit of liquid in, so I put just a dash of water in, just to make sure that it didn't dry up in the crock pot overnight. I had planned to only leave this on for 4 or 5 hours because my daughter usually wakes up at around 1 a.m. for a feed, but she slept through, and I did not set an alarm because that never happens. So this chicken was in this slow cooker for about 8 hours, which is way more than is recommended for chicken thighs just because of the risk of it drying out. But these didn't dry out, which was so good. They were absolutely fine, so I just popped them in the fridge as soon as I could that next morning, and then I got them out for dinner time. Now, although we're coming into summer here in Australia, I'm going to try and find more recipes like this one that's not like a soup or a stew that I can cook in the slow cooker during summer. Because, yeah, like I said, it just helps so much when you have a busy day ahead or you've got a baby that you don't know if, they're going to let you get some cooking done in the evenings or not. So having the protein ready for dinner is just amazing. So this is the next day. I'm just preparing these capsicums, the rest of the capsicums from my fruit and veg haul. And I'm going to saute these in some salt, pepper and oil in the cast iron pan. What I want to do as well at the end of my first few videos is just give a shout out to some YouTubers that have inspired me to start my own channel. The first one is Stacey from her YouTube channel's called Farmer's Wife Homestead. She's in New Zealand and she's just such a great cook that doesn't use recipes. You can just tell she has been doing this for a while, and she gives some really great tips for some easy and cheap dinner ideas. So head over and have a look at her channel. I've got a few other channels too, and I'm going to save them for later videos to shout out to. Now, here you can see this is the chicken that's been pulled apart from the slow cooker. I'm just heating my portion up because the rest I'm putting in containers to freeze with the rest of the carrot and the capsicum, and then I'll get them out of the freezer at a later date and heat up some noodles to have as a quick and easy lunch or dinner option. Thank you to all of you who have watched this video, who are following me, who are chatting with me in the comments. I really appreciate you all, and I cannot wait to see where this journey takes us. I love filming this content and showing you what I do in my kitchen. So thank you so much for being here. And I'll see you next week to show you another week in my kitchen. Bye for now.